So, welcome to the second episode, guys, of this VoiceQube podcast. And we have with us Clint and Joao, who have built a really amazing Alexa skill for the Echo Show and the Echo Spot devices. And Clint has been a friend or an acquaintance of mine from a long time because I'm a big fan of his initial work called Detective X. Is a very fascinating Alexa skill, and I keep talking about it in other podcast episodes as well because of the sheer attention to detail he had in the audio production and the voice design part of it. And Budgie Studio creates a lot of voice skills, Alexa skills, and they are like one of the top agencies out there. And I'm really excited to consume their content, and I'm excited to know about this new skill of yours, guys. And so we could just do a quick introduction and then get into the questions. So, Clint, do you want to go first?
Yeah, thanks very much, Vishnu. Well, first of all, thank you so much for the praise. It really means a lot that you considered us, for the opportunity to come on your show, and the nice words that you and Nick had about me last week and about Detective X. That really meant a lot. So I genuinely appreciate it. Yeah, I guess the background is I come from a background of TV and film and working in advertising agencies, things of that nature. So when I got into the Amazon Alexa world a couple of years ago, once I kind of put out some hello world skills and kind of get my head around things, I decided that I should probably take advantage of my background and my abilities with audio production and working with voiceover artists and writing dialogue and that, and kind of take advantage of those skills to put something out that would, kind of show what I'm capable of in a very high production value compared to much of what else is out there in the Alexa gaming world. So I took those steps and got the ball rolling. And then as that started to develop and I was almost at the finish line with that, I realized there was a few things that I still needed a hand with. Joao and I were already members of the voice flow community, and we had already chatted on there. So him and I connected through that, and he kind of helped me, get it over the finish line. And we've stayed in contact since. And so this fall, when I approached him with the idea of Nine Lives Trivia, our new Amazon Alexa game, he was into it, and we partnered, and it's been amazing teamwork over the last few months.
Awesome. And Joao, do you want to go next?
Yes, so I am João Paulo from Brazil. My background is in consulting. Actually, I have graduated for computer science. My background is in consulting, and I entered the voice business as soon as Alexa launched here in Brazil, which was in 2019. So I was doing some, just general skills to get acquainted with the ecosystem. And last March, just before the pandemic start, I set up to start working on Fiverr so I could dive deep on the industry. And I set up to do 100 skills in 1 year. And fortunately, I could do it in 8 months. So in this January of this year, I completed my 100th skill there on Fiverr. So this gave me enough skill, no pun intended, but this gave me enough skill to undertake any project I wanted. And fortunately enough, Clint just reached to me right before that, and he brought to me a project that was very dear to him, and it was an honor to work with him, because as much as you were impressed with Detective X, I was too. I was involved with Detective X in last year to do some, I think it was save states thing for the game. And it was, for me, it was great to work because of his vision, which is ahead of whatever skills are available in the store now. Our skills focus mainly on video. So it's the first skill that you will see on the store. It's the only skill that you see on the store which is focused mainly on video, because we firmly believe that this is the direction that things are going to interactive entertainment. So this is a statement on what we believe, and this is where we are going to invest our time in the next couple of months.
That's very interesting to know that you've been working on 100 Alexa skills, Joao, and congratulations on reaching that far before you intended to. So my question, I'd like to start my question over there. Now, in these 100, I'm sure you've built several Alexa skills, which are not just into entertainment, but also into like functional skills, enterprise skills, and skills which have some business use case mostly, right? But then in your mind, how do you rate, skills for immersive entertainment, content consumption as such, in comparison with other utility skills that are there out there? Do you think the user base that exists right now, almost 120 million monthly active users, do you think the demand is more for utility kind of skills, or there's demand for content and immersive content, games and stories, but there is no good amount of supply?
So I will talk very briefly and pass over to Clint, because he has studied this market much more than I do, and I'm gonna speak as a user, okay? But I think it's like, is there a chicken or egg thing going? Because people are waiting for the killer app, the killer game to come over, and in the end, they're not creating, they're not taking matter on their own hands to create those experiences. And this is fundamentally different from the approach we are taking. Me and Clint, we believe that we are the ones that are going to create this great experience. So we are not waiting on that. So the scenario that I see now is that a lot of mini games, that just casual games that people just push into the store to see what happens. And unfortunately, just a handful of games that you could say that they generate a great experience for the user. So, but I think Clint can talk better about this.
Yeah, no, I think Joao is dead on. He referenced, kind of the simplistic, the basic games and skills that exist, and I think a lot of that ecosystem was created because of the developer rewards that existed a couple of years ago, and I think that got a lot of people curious, and I'll mess around, maybe I'll make a couple quick bucks, and then as those kind of dropped off and people weren't making those quick bucks that they expected, now we're kind of left with a skill store full of a lot of skills that are just kind of muddling up the skills that do stand out and do deserve attention. So yeah, it's I think it's as Joao said, at the end of the day, as much as we need support from Amazon or Google or whoever to make people aware that third-party skills even exist, I think a lot of users don't even realize that it's a thing, let alone know what the best ones are and what the options are out there. So obviously they play a role of making users aware, but at the end of the day, it comes down to the developers, the studios themselves. We're all individuals who decide, how much work and how much effort we want to put into our projects. So I can't blame Amazon if I don't get covered on websites or publications or whatnot. That's really up to me and the time and effort I want to put in. So I think that's a lot of developers are crying that they're not getting the opportunities they want, but I think they need to create the opportunities for themselves as well.
Sure. Yeah, and adding to your point, right? So I recently conducted a poll on LinkedIn, and the question was, do you guys know whether you can play interactive stories and games on these voice devices? And the options were no, yes, and third one was yes, but we can't find good ones. And surprisingly, 45 odd percentage of people said that they didn't know it. And then there's like 30 odd people saying that they knew it, and then 20 something saying that they knew that they could play, but they can't find the good ones. And that's the same thing which Joao was mentioning, right? So there were a lot of these hobbyist students who just want to create something and put it out there. They're creating these skills, but it doesn't create a good experience for the user, and the user is searching for something which has good voice design and audio production. And yeah, and what you said is right. It's eventually up to the user or the studio to do the necessary marketing and to make sure that he gets the visibility that um, he thinks he deserves. And absolutely, no platform is going to help them just like that, right? And that makes sense. But I'd like to ask a question over here related to something that I am developing right now. You've done Detective X in Amazon, and then it's also there in Google, and I'm guessing Nine Lives is also going to be coming very soon in Google. It's already there.
It's just Amazon for now, but yeah, we are discussing our options for sure.
Yeah. And then in future, your entire portfolio of voice applications and these immersive stories that you'll make, they will be on Amazon, they will be on Google, they will be on Bixby, they will be on Apple. As a studio, don't you think it's going to become too tedious for you to market these applications in individual ecosystems? And don't you think it's going to help you a lot if there was some platform that unifies voice users in entirety, and then you can market your product on that platform?
Yeah, I would say that definitely helps. There needs to be some curation. I think would be a good word for it. Whether that be through a mobile app or through a website, through a Facebook group. I think there's a lot of options as far as creating that curation. I think what Nick is doing with VoiceSpark, I think that's great as far as kind of showing reviews and making people aware of what's out there. There's the Dot to Dot podcast that does that as well. Echo Dad, he's got a YouTube show that does that. So I think there are people that are doing that, but I think it's VoiceQube, what you have in mind, Vishnu. I think maybe something like that, something a little bit more official that kind of stands alone. I think that's a great idea. Nick on the last episode brought up the idea that if you go into the Amazon Alexa app, there's not even a button or any obvious way to even get directly to the game. So I think some kind of a more direct route is definitely needed.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what we are trying to build as well, right? Like a curated platform where you don't find noise, you don't need to go search through the clutter of 200,000 Alexa skills, but only those which are like with top voice design and good production values are on there. And this brings me to another question, which is again related to the demand side of things. Now, do you see more sessions of Detective X being played by, a geography? Is that skew in geography, like more North American users compared to Indian or UK users, or how is the distribution like across geographies for all of your skills?
For sure. I mean, it's a little early to say with Nine Lives Trivia yet, but in general, it has been North American based. Myself being based in Canada, I've got a little bit of influx with that, and some of my own connections up here. But yeah, I would say in general North American based and UK based. But we're happy to take on fans from all over the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you don't mind me asking, can you throw in any numbers? Like, it's been a long time since your skills came out, and then some numbers would give more confidence and more encouragement to other voice developers out there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I don't check Detective X's numbers on a daily basis or anything like that. I kind of let it do its own thing. But I know at this point we're up, tens of thousands of users. We might be approaching hundreds of thousands of users at this point. And yeah, there's a bit of a community. Some people have reached out to me behind the scenes and asked, when is there going to be updates or new versions of it. And so yeah, that's come into a bit of a universe of its own that we hope to expand over time. As far as Nine Lives Trivia, that was just launched last week. So, pretty early days to get our heads around where that's headed, but we have already gotten our first few subscribers, and we have a leaderboard integrated in it, and we're watching, the scores go up on the leaderboard. So it's slowly but surely growing.
So when you say subscribers, is it something that requires account linking right now?
Yeah, it's a subscription through the ISP service.
Okay,
I'll let Joao go into a bit more detail on it.
sure.
It's not account linking, it's a different process. So it's the process where you use your Amazon account to purchase an item. It's like when you have Fire TV or when you have Kindle and you purchase a book through the service, and it comes as you were purchasing anything else on Amazon. So it's a service that is linked to your Amazon account, and therefore you can use it as you were using the Amazon store.
That's
So
very
it's pretty straightforward. It's a different process from the account linking one. It's a different process.
that's interesting. And Joe, one question which I wanted to ask is about the languages, right? So most of these 100 skills that you made, was it predominantly English, or have you dabbled with a little bit of Spanish or any other language as such?
I have done for Spanish. I have done for German, France. There are some UK, Australia, New Zealand, United States, and even some in Brazil, but just a little. So about 5% are for here for Brazil, but most of them are for are outside Brazil.
And out of these non-English skills, how many of them are into entertainment or into gamification or interactive stories kind of
Oh
job?
no, the ones that are not English, they are. I think most of them, if not all of them, are for utility skills.
Got it.
Skills for businesses, skills for for transactional skills.
Got
So
it.
they are not. I haven't built entertainment skills uh, for the public outside the U.S.
Got it. So the reason I'm asking is that around 8 months back, we released something called Kannada short stories. So Kannada is like a small language based out of South India, and we just wanted to know, if we create a very niche language skill, we wanted to know what kind of response we would get, how many users are out there who are actually having some kind of demand for, vernacular languages apart from English. And surprisingly, we've got like 15,000 users, and then all of them have come organically. Like people are asking for Kannada short stories on an Alexa device, and these users are based out of US, some very few from UK, a lot of them from India. So Amazon has a very closed set of numbers, right? They don't just give away numbers of how many devices are sold, how many users are out there. But it was fascinating to find out that there is significant demand for these non-English entertainment skills as well. Um, Clint and Joe, question to both of you: have you guys talked with anyone who's done anything in this space before, like non-English entertainment?
Clint, can you get that one while I think about it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, in the context of the gaming work that we're doing, Vishnu, that's definitely something that's on our mind, especially for Nine Lives Trivia. I see an opportunity to expand that game, well beyond North America, well beyond English speaking. Whether that means actual hosts speaking in other languages, or possibly dubbing over the existing host's voice into other languages. And we're in such an exciting time now. We're getting into a time where there's companies like Resemble AI who can take a few minutes of your voice and actually translate that into another language. So there could be some automation and different opportunities there that we could take advantage of to expand to other parts of the world and other languages. I love what you're saying there about kind of finding a niche language and concentrating on it.
Got it. And
Yeah, what I'd like to comment on that is that it reflects the philosophy of Amazon as an extent. You know, the name is from the Amazon River, which is a huge river here in Brazil, and it goes back to the long tail theory of that guy from Whited. I forgot his name. I think it's Mark. What is his name? Oh gosh, I forgot it. But you know, there's a theory that says that there's enough interest in the long tail, which is those niche things that you talk about. There's enough, yeah, there's enough interest, so you can build a business around it. So I think it just reflects Amazon's philosophy. Whenever you build a good experience, with a good voice design and a good user experiences, you will have a public that will go to it and and test your voice experience.
got it, got it. And that brings to my next question, which is I guess I'll get diplomatic answers for this, but voice has become very synonymous to Alexa and Amazon, even though there's Google, and the number of developers for Google are predominantly less when compared to Alexa. Even though Google Assistant is there on all the Android phones, and it makes the distribution very easy for, let's say, a studio like yours. But what are your comments on the things that are happening in the voice industry in general? Like after 2019, it just felt as if Amazon and Google have taken their foot off the pedal, and then yeah, Alexa is still there in almost all the bedrooms. But what do you think is going to happen, in your opinion, for this ecosystem as such? Uh, do you see any new emerging player who's going to probably take out a major chunk of this industry, or are these two players going to be there for a long time? And as a developer, how does that affect you? Do you have any biases that okay, you like one platform over the other, or if you have some sort of complaints about each of these platforms where they can get better? Any points regarding that?
I think Google and Amazon are in a very different type of business from the skills I have been involved, and I have been involved with some huge skills for players like Disney and Domino's Pizza, and from what I have studied, the relation from the users with the assistants is very different from Google and Amazon. Amazon owns the living room, and Google owns the smartphone. So basically, what does that mean is that if you're looking for an application that drives more engagement and entertainment, you probably should go with Amazon. And if you're looking for something that is more utility based, and it's more based around routines and things around your smartphone, you should go with Google. And this ultimately reflects in the analytics. When you analyze those voice applications, you'll see that the engagement is different in Amazon than it is in Google. But you see also that the quantity and the volume of conversations are bigger on Google. So I think it's a question of having your strategy on how to launch and where to launch. And I think this is the bias. I don't have any other bias than that. Right. If I want something that is directed towards engagement, I would go with Amazon. And if I want something that is directed towards recurrence and those transactional things, I would go with Google.
Got it. Clint, what do you think about it?
Yeah, no, I think Joao covered that well. I agree with him. It's his points about kind of the branding of Google versus the branding of Amazon, and I really like what he said of when I think of sitting in front of the TV or sitting with the family and all that, the Amazon brand comes to mind more so than the Google brand, and kind of the relationship that you have with them. So yeah, that's why we're concentrating on the Amazon market initially. Fire TV is also something that's really important to us as the visuals become more important. I believe there's about 40 or 50 million people in America who own Fire TV. So we're not just simply thinking of a smart speaker, but thinking of the larger ecosystem of the brands.
Got it, got it. But then Google Nest is doing some pretty interesting stuff with its screen devices, and a lot of games are being developed on Google Nest that has a screen. And the beautiful part of it is it doesn't have like a timeout for voice input, right? So you can just, the game keeps going, and then you can keep trying to guess the word that's on the screen. Do you see those kind of features as encouraging, for a studio to create more experiences there, leveraging those tiny features, but which have a really good impact?
Really want to take that, Clint, because I have suffered a long time with that. And yes, I think it's very, you can see it on my face. I think I'm willing for this to happen anytime now, because it's all turn-based. You open the microphone, wait 80 seconds, wait 8 seconds, and and have the response. So it's two turn-based. And when you have something like this, you can leave the microphone open, throughout the session to get the user's response. It's something that, it blows my mind. I have been trying to implement a sharpshooter for Alexa for a long time, and you just don't have a way to do it, because of this turn-based thing. But I think that it's with the advance of the industry and more studios coming into play, they will have no other place to go but to bring more and more of these new requirements to the hardware, so you can use them in the skills. Another one that is subutilized is the camera. So the camera don't get open at any time. So this, is such an undertaking for developers. So they don't have how to use the camera. But I am waiting on these features to be released. With a lot of ideas to implement in the first day they are available.
And the frustrating part is once it gets timed out, it also logs out of the game or the skill, and you have to open it again, which is like extremely frustrating for the user. And then it's easy for users who are accustomed with Alexa, and they know that, okay, the skill has gone out, and then you have to open the skill again. But for, let's say, someone who bought the Alexa on that day and is trying out these things, he just feels as if there's a huge disconnect between probably the third party application or the Alexa itself. And regarding the camera, that's a very good point. We have a very nice method to do a lot of creative stuff with, let's say, a camera, but I don't think they're going to allow any sort of streaming of video files or anything to third-party ecosystem yet, right? I mean, they don't even give us the audio files right now, and yeah, they have their reasons for that. But do you think an open source kind of a voice product, which, like, there are some in Austin, there's a company called Woohoo that is creating its own voice device. There's a company called Miko that is creating a voice assistant for kids. Do you think any sort of these boutique voice devices built on open source technologies or custom technologies of their own would carve like a niche in the entire ecosystem for, let's say, the entertainment, and give more features like these to developers? Do you think that is a possibility, or is the entire industry already in the hands of these mammoth Amazons and Googles?
I think there could be an interesting opportunity there for maybe a standalone smart speaker or something of that nature that is, a niche, maybe specifically for, gaming, obviously for our world. So, you could get into, maybe you're competing more with the Nintendos and the Xboxes, and at that point, if you have a standalone that's just concentrating on one application as opposed to the entire ecosystem that Amazon and Google are going after. So yeah, I think there's always opportunities for something like that. And if I can just say to what we were just speaking of the turn taking and whatnot, yeah, I also really hope that comes to Amazon soon. I think that the turn taking, it can take you out of the immersion sometimes, and I think having just kind of that open-ended conversation could really allow to create some really exciting experiences within interactive storytelling and whatnot.
Got it, got it. And Clint, you must be aware of this company called labworks.io, who have done voice arcade. Tom
Yes,
Hill.
of course.
So they
Yeah,
have,
big fans of Tom and the work they're doing.
yeah, absolutely. So they have they have their vision very clear, right? So they think that voice gaming, interactive storytelling is going to be very huge. Now, um, as a business, because you're not doing this just for, let's say, some sort of pro bono stuff, right? You think that there's going to be money that can be made out of this line of work. And just like how mobile gaming has expanded from 80 million in 2008 to 78 billion right now, uh, I'm guessing that voice is going to carve a niche for itself in terms of a market size. So let's say, we just generally talk about market size and market size of voice entertainment as such, or interactive entertainment as such. Did you have conversations with any investors, or probably with some of your friends, or with yourself, of how to deal with this question of how big can this market be, and what kind of market are we playing in?
Yeah, for sure. So as you said, Voice Arcade is a great example. I think of, Tom and his team there. They're building that out. They're creating this into a proper business. That stands alone. And that's what Joao and I are hoping to accomplish with Budgie as well. So, obviously that takes money to do that. And we're, as much as we're starting to make a couple of bucks with our work, it's not the kind of money that allows you to really build out a team, have proper marketing budgets, things like that. So yeah, we are definitely interested in the idea of bringing in investors. We've already had a few people approach us from the VC community, just kind of kicking the tires, seeing what we're up to. I think Nine Lives Trivia needs to exist for a little bit longer, so we have some proper numbers behind it of really where it stands and what the future could hold. But yeah, I think if you really want to take it from that hobby level up to a proper business level, then finances are going to play a role.
Yeah, but let's say I put you on the spot here and I ask, how big can this market be? Do you have like any estimations, guesstimations of that sorts, or what kind of approach can, let's say, we take over here to even calculate how big it can be?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in no position to put a number on anything, but I think the it's unlimited, really. As we spoke about earlier, everyone's kind of waiting for that breakout hit. It only takes that one breakout hit to bring millions of more people to the to the community and to start to understand what we're doing, and hopefully we continue to grow and expand from there. As far as putting a dollar value on anything or an amount of users, I don't feel comfortable saying that.
Okay. And yeah, that's interesting. So, do you plan on expanding these creative IPs that you're creating, right? So, with Nine Lives, you've got this Sonic. Sonic had this character, the Hedgehog, and you have a character of your own. Do you plan on increasing this franchise? Creating more creative IP around this character, and extending it for more skills. And the same thing can be said about Detective X, because Detective X has his own personality and a chip inside his brain, right? So what's your approach, like, as Budgie? Do you want to create a lot of creative IP around these characters that you're building, or is it going to be individual for every skill? I just want to know your thought process behind it.
Yeah, for sure. That's great of you to notice the opportunities there, and we're definitely thinking about that. I think the cat as an IP that has a ton of potential. As we just spoke about, having different languages. You could have a kids version, you could have different standalone specialty versions, but you could have that consistent branding of the cat throughout them, no matter of who your host is or what your topic is. And then I think that also allows for expansion into merchandising. The cat could have its own show, its own social media following. I think it's pretty unlimited in that extent. And the exact same with Detective X. I think there's a ton of opportunity to expand that universe and kind of make it episodic. You could have different cases that kind of stand alone. That could also be available for purchase. And I think in a bigger picture, I've mentioned the Fire TV and that, and I think the work that Joao and I are doing, it's getting into an area where it's kind of blurring the lines between what is an Alexa skill and what is interactive programming. So, that's really where our heads are at, of where is this all headed? Where is it intersecting in the future?
That's that's a very good point to make for my next question, which is I see voice as a gateway into HCI, right? So like I think immersive technologies are going to grow, like AR devices, VR devices that are going to come. So question to both of you is, um, do you think these experiences that you create can smoothly transition into, let's say, a VR experience? Because eventually VR needs audio, and automatically, because in a VR experience you don't have a keyboard or a mouse, and you need probably gestures as input, and voice can be a fantastic input for an immersive experience. So and the point that you told about Fire TVs is that the line between what's an Alexa skill and what's an immersive content, it's getting blurred with visuals coming in, right? So, do you think there'll be a world where we would no longer see these Alexa devices which don't have a screen, and it's going to be completely, truly immersive with both visual and voice uh, existing at the same time?
I think it's going to be contextualized to what the experience is. There's going to be more utility based examples, or even just little quick shot games where you only want to spend a couple of minutes while you're killing some time or washing the dishes or what have you, where visuals aren't necessarily going to make sense. It's great to say let's throw visuals on everything, but it's got to be complementary. It's got to add to the overall experience, and if it's not doing that, then you're just doing it for the sake of doing it. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely seeing that world. I think VR, AR, NFTs, and that whole world it all seems to be kind of coalescing into the same area. And so that's, we're trying to think of the bigger picture of where is this all headed, not simply, where does it stand today? And yeah, so we can definitely see the VR stuff in the world of, say, Detective X. You could feel like you're the actual detective, walking into the crime scene, actually having these interactions. So, it's stuff that's in our head, but that's also super high production that costs a lot of time and money. So, I love that idea, and I think we're headed there. But I think voice control is a good step. You're seeing what's happening on things like Netflix and their interactive programming. I know that they have a lot more coming down the pipe, so that's obviously something that they're committed to and they're working on. But I think adding the voice, I don't know if you've experienced any of that, Vishnu, but it's either kind of click this button or click that button on Netflix, and I don't think that has halfway the immersion that the voice control has. So if you were to add an extra VR, AR element to that, that would only further the immersion.
Yeah, absolutely. And Netflix is investing a lot in Boss Baby. It's a game for kids, right? The interactive part of it. Minecraft has come with an interactive story. Bandersnatch from Black Mirror, obviously, that was the first. But yeah, voice takes it to another level, and you're just not clicking, but it's very easy to interact. It's very easy and intuitive for me to answer a question with my voice rather than typing or selecting an option. So that's a very good point. And now, again, now I'll try to step into a little difficult territory over here. So now you talked about ISPs, and ISPs are only available in the US, right? And they're just launching in a few other countries. Uh, but then you have this 30% cut for Amazon, and we see the fight between Epic Games and Apple and the Google ecosystems, right? And as they call it infamously, the Apple tax or the Google tax. And what's interesting to me is that Amazon, as Audible, tries to do a workaround by creating a web view and pushing the users into their website to buy the audiobooks. But then when it comes to their own ecosystem, they are asking us to sign up with ISPs. So uh, it's taking 30% off our top line as producers and studios. Uh, what's your general opinion on that, both of you?
Well, I think it's a part of the game. It's not that they need the money to survive, because there are all of these other big have revenue streams comes from them. But in the end of the day, it's just a business. It has to be to stand for itself. I know some people in both Google and Amazon, and I'm pretty sure this must have been thought out, very thoroughly. And this is some, points that kind of sustains their business and make it worth it. But this happens, and in the end of the day, this happens, on shopping malls. You see, they charge the stores to be there, so it's to sell to the customers that goes there. So it's all around. It's not. I think people have this idea that things have to be, free. You don't have to charge for things. And this was like more or less the pre 2007 idea of apps. And what this have cost us on, Nokia app stores and those, all terrible apps that came before 2007, because there was a general understanding that you will not pay for an app. Come on. And but after that, it gets to a point that people understood the benefit of the app and how it really helps you or entertains you throughout your day. And I think it's just part of the game. It's just the rules that we abide for. And you always have two options, which is to be on this industry or not. So we don't really think about it.
Yeah, Joe's exactly right. I mean, no one's forcing us to be on Amazon. No one's forcing you to be in the Apple store. It's, all these things are your decision at the end of the day. And I kind of look at it as a highway toll. They're the highway, and if you want people to be able to reach you, and then that's part of the game. I think you can get into a conversation of the size of the cut that they're taking, and maybe what are you getting in return for that, and you could maybe get back into some of those discoverability discussions related to that. But at the end of the day, if you want to play the game, you got to pay the toll.
Yeah, and the analogies that you guys gave, let's say shopping mall or the highway, uh, decent analogies, but I would say I would like to put a different perspective to it, right? Like, let's say I own, all the furniture shops in my city. Like, I own all of the furniture shops in my city, and then instead of selling my furniture to restaurants and other places, like instead of selling the tables and chairs to restaurants, what if I give them for free? But then in return, I ask 30% of every food order that was executed there. I think it's more analogous to that, because let's say in a shopping mall, if I'm selling my products, I would pay the rent. And a rent is time bound. It's not based on how much sales I do. It's not taking money off my top line, but it just adds a fixed cost. When it's a highway, I pay my highway toll. Like in India, we've got like toll roads. I don't know if it's there, but we pay the toll, and then only when we are traveling through that highway, we pay a certain fixed amount of money. Uh, it doesn't matter if I have a Lamborghini or a Mercedes or let's say a Chevrolet, right? I pay the same amount of money. So I would say something like that might be a more uh, fair to business model, and then creates more incentives for studios to increase their top line, and then create more content. Because I see the fight between Epic Games and Apple very, very relevant and very relatable. Because once you have that kind of influence over your users, you obviously want, and you're making so much in revenue, and you already have the user base. Do you think it makes sense to uh, give something off your subscription price, right? So like Netflix also has bypassed that, and they're asking people to subscribe through the web platform and not the app, because they don't want to share their subscription revenue, because that's too expensive, right? But yeah, again, we have different opinions about it, and that's okay. And
You,
I think,
you your comments about the Lamborghini versus the Chevrolet, it makes me think too, maybe there's a potential for a sliding scale where, depending on your user base and things of that nature, maybe you could pay more or less.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. We can get creative over that, and I hope that these platforms would take that into account. And I think that'll happen if more platforms come into existence and there's some good, healthy competition between them, right? Like Google gains more users, Bixby gains more users, and I'm sure Apple is going to come hard on this once they smell money over here. Um, but yeah, this is good conversation, and I really like talking to creators who are facing similar thoughts and facing similar challenges that I am. uh, and I've been following Ear Reality from Germany, Christian Manke, and they've done like several skills in German, and they are now focusing on the North American market. And so what I'm observing is that back in 1923, when Walt Disney started Disney, cartoons and comics and motion picture was very new, and he leapt on it, and he adopted this technology and created Mickey Mouse and a whole lot of IP. And now Disney is a mammoth, and there are so many other mammoths out there who are sitting on rich content IP and content in general. But then when it comes to voice, I see these boutique studios like yours or Ear Reality, or some others from India, and even StoryQube, RZs. These small companies are identifying the voice design part, the production part, fairly easy, and coming up with really good quality applications, right? And do you think there's a scope for, let's say, a new Disney to form in this immersive space? Or once the big players know that there's enough money in it, would it be like a tidal wave of them acquiring these small boutique studios, and or them producing themselves? Because do they have the technology arm to understand voice design, to understand NLU, and execute that creative and technology fusion?
Yeah, I think there's what's the old investor saying of either build it or buy it, right? So yeah, I think it'll as this starts to expand, and as I said, kind of the waters start to muddy of what's an Alexa experience, what's interactive television, and all that. That's going to get the interest of the studios, of the video gaming companies and things like that, and especially if the money starts to actually get rolling, obviously they're going to want their cut too. So yeah, I think it'll come to a point where either they're going to have to create their own experiences and their own games, or they'll have to buy up someone who already has that existing IP and build on top of that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think regarding that question, do they have this voice expertise? I think that when it comes the time to Disney to take a look at the voice experience, they will probably create a very special and magic experience for themselves, right? So I think this is not a question of if they will create. It's more a question of when it will be, enough mainstream on that will get their attention. It's like 3D movies and all of those things. So the big guys I think they just enters on it when there's enough traffic that can make the shareholders happy. So. Otherwise, it's just experimentation, and we see a lot of experimentations. Fantasia 2000 is an experimentation on the blend of cartoon and classical music. And if you look in the past, there's a lot of examples of those movie studios and TV networks doing experimentations. Bandersnatch is an experimentation of Netflix. So I think this is, in the end of the day, this is their approach to innovation. And there is this movement from them innovating, but not in a large scale. And there's, in the other side, there's a lot of developers like us doing stuff to create this market, to make this market relevant. And some of those guys, which we hope we are one of those, are going to end up, being, great studios with great experience in creating great track records, in creating great voice experiences. But I think that regarding the ability to do it, they surely have it, and if they don't, they will go after to buy it.
So it's again going to be the standard David versus Goliath competition once that starts off. That's interesting. And so are you guys completely into voice right now? Like, are you guys full-time into voice, or do you do something on the side for, your living or your professional career? I'm just curious to know.
Yeah, I actually work a full-time job in administration. That's a remote job that kind of allows me to set my own schedule to some extent, and find the time to do this kind of stuff. So in addition to the Budgie work, I also do some work through a company called Local Vocal that works with small and medium businesses, creating voice skills for them.
Got it.
And I have other 2 side jobs, so I work on 3 jobs, and all of them are in voice. So I work
In voice.
yeah, mainly in voice. So I work. I'm working with Clint on to try to get his ideas and conceptions and into voice experiences. I also work with an agency here in Brazil. It was through this agency that I have done some voice apps, some big voice apps for Disney and for Domino's Pizza here in Brazil, which gets a lot of traction. And I also have my own studio, Yara Digital, which is a studio based on creating voice experiences for agencies and for startups and companies. So I have those three. I juggle between those 3 jobs.
Okay, that's very interesting. It's good to know that a majority of both of your time is being invested in voice, and we need more talented and creative guys in this voice space so that we'll actually be able to fill in the supply to cater to the demand that's out there, in the form of users. But then, so before we conclude our podcast, I want to quickly ask you guys, any sort of recommendations or personal learnings you found in designing voice applications or developing voice applications. Like straight off the bat, you must be knowing that, okay, these are the red flags, and these are the good points that you need to keep in mind as a voice designer or developer to create an amazing experience.
I think, Clint, if I can go first here, I think that just 2 things it's important to keep in mind that I have collected, over the course of the last 1.5 years working with skills, is that one thing is focus on quality, because there's a lot of people trying to put skills out there. They're just, demo versions, hello world things. And if you can focus, 3 times more on creating a voice experience, on brainstorming a voice experience and make it real, then you definitely should do it, because this is what is going to engage the user in the end. Of course, it's good to train, and some of the skills I have done was just for training purposes to see how quickly I could pull out a skill. And if you're publishing something on the store, it should be something that have a decent quality on the experience, on the user experience. The second piece of advice I have is that you are designing for the ear of people. So don't underestimate the power of good sound design. I work with a sound design studio on all of my projects because I think that sound on a skill is just like as critical as a visual for an app, a mobile app.
Got it.
So it's mandatory. You have to have a studio, a sound studio design affiliated with you. If you don't have money to have your own, you have to be affiliated with someone who does this, because it's imperative to create good voice experiences.
Yeah, I think Joao's dead on. It's quality over quantity really is what it comes down to. And with Budgie, we're of the opinion that we'd rather concentrate on creating an incredible experience that's going to impress people and get press and different opportunities for us than we could shoot out a new game every day of the week if we weren't really worried about the quality of it. But that's not what we're trying to do here. And whether that be a gaming studio or an agency creating experiences for clients, it's all about creating that high production immersive experience. And Joao's dead on. It's you're not going to stand out by just having simple poly voices, simple interactions. You've got to have the voiceover artists, the audio in the background. Now we're getting into adding the visuals, and you've got to really think of this as a high production value, and not just something that let's get this out there and see what happens.
And then one final question, initially in the voice tech space, the early companies to get funded was, Voice Flow that comes to my mind, and Storyline, I guess, back in the day was very popular. And then, so now Ear Reality has their own product called Twist, with which they're, easily creating these interactive stories. And they think that tool is a business model in itself. And then there are frameworks like Jovo. As Budgie, do you guys have any tips or any hacks or any internal tools that you're planning to build, if not now, in the future, which is going to accelerate your production? And have you tried building on these existing do-it-yourself, voice app developing tools? What is your opinion on that?
I think we use whatever it's available. I think there are definitely guys that are making the difference. Like you mentioned Jovo and VoiceFlow. Those are very great tools and go-to tools. You have the guys from Dabble Labs doing a great work on releasing template skills, popularizing the skill creation process. And we use whatever it's available, but to be honest, we don't have the issue, we don't have the problem of having to get out as many as projects we want right now. We don't have that scale problem right now. Our challenge is different. We are brainstorming more on what is the best interaction we can create. So it's more about quality and not quantity. So whenever we are discussing on how we can create the best possible interaction, the best possible memorable interaction for the user, because we think that this is what is going to make him hooked up to this, because the user is not used to interact with this. So to make him come back for more, you have to create something that is special, because the amount of attention that goes to a mobile phone is so huge that you only have one shot to get him out of the smartphone and in the smart assistants. So we are more focusing on that, and we're more exploring that rather than ways of pulling more and more skills on the market.
Understood. That's a fair point. All right. So this has been incredibly helpful. I mean, I've got a lot of insights into what Budgie is doing, and I'm really excited to try this Nine Lives once I get my Echo Show device. And what you guys mentioned about Fire TV and 50, 60 million users already existing on that space, and the lines getting blurred between an Alexa skill and an immersive application or a story. These are great points, guys, and I'm looking forward to listening and experiencing more stories that you are trying to build, and probably, who knows, maybe StoryQube and Budgie can co-produce something for India or for the Asian markets pretty soon. So Clint and Joe, thanks a lot for joining, and I just want to open the floor right now for any parting comments that you have, for our audience. And you can brag about your skills, you can promote your stuff over here as well.
Time for the shameless self-promotion. Yeah, well, no, obviously, Vishnu, thank you so much for the opportunity and all the support that you've given myself and Budgie over the last couple of years. It means a lot. And yeah, I love the opportunity to work with you and the VoiceQube team in whatever capacity works. Yeah, so everyone, please go check out Nine Lives Trivia. That's available in United States right now. You can play a full demo version of that and then decide whether or not you're interested in the subscription. As far as our other games, specifically Detective X is available in all English-speaking countries where Amazon is available. So please go check that out as well. We hope we are in the near future kind of rebooting Detective X to add visuals to it. We're talking with some comic book artists right now. We see, if we're committed to the visuals with the voice controlled experience, then we've really got to double down on that and not simply look forward, but also see what have we done in the past that we can improve upon and kind of bring up to date. So yeah, we're super excited about that, and we're also brainstorming some other ideas of Amazon Alexa games with visuals that hopefully you'll see something later in the year.
Vishnu, very nice to meet you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for having us. It's important for us, to talk with guys like you to brainstorm about the market and get the conversation open. Pun intended, and I hope we can release the game soon in India, because I think the English language is supported on their systems there, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. India has.
So I hope we can launch pretty soon on India and other English-speaking markets, and when we do that, I hope we can count on you to make the word for us.
Absolutely, and I'm hoping to include all of your skills on my StoryQube app, which is going to release in a couple of days, where we are curating the best Alexa skills and Google actions. So once again, thank you guys. It's great talking to you, and I hope all of us together can keep this industry kicking. And probably in a few years' time, each of us will have like a huge portfolio that Disney wants to acquire or Netflix wants to acquire, and we all get rich. Thanks again for joining my podcast, and I'm looking forward to playing your games and talking to you again soon. Thanks, Clint. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks, Vishnu. Talk to you soon.
Yeah. Bye.